Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at which units we can expect for part 2 and when part 2 will actually be. Now it's super important to understand that there is a giant timer to when part 2 is in the game. It is the banner discounts. So very simple, very straightforward. If you look at the banner, you'll see it says give or take right now X amount of days. Those days translate to when the next unit is released, give or take. Now we are looking at the 17th of June, depending on your time zone, and this is going to be basically a pretty simple situation for us. So in terms of the overall kind of like concept, I think there's two important things to take note of. Firstly, part 2 in Legends is very different to part 2 in Dokkan. Dokkan Battle, the part 2 units generally follow the same theme to some degree of the celebration. So if it's Spirit Bomb celebration, for example, then they'll have, all kinds of units connected to Spirit Bombs. They also tend to have villains, etc, etc. This is not the case in Legends. Legends does not have as much thematic continuity in its celebrations. Last year, for example, we got, in part 1, the 2 fusion units, and then in part 2, we got Super Saiyan 2 Goku going SS3 and Ultimate Gohan. 2 cool units, admittedly, but not really super in connection with the 2 fusions that we got. Obviously, one connected to the Envy Martian Brew saga, but outside of that, there wasn't really a holistic connection. So the part 2 units don't tend to follow as much of a kind of rigid baseline as one might expect in Dokkan. Secondly, as well, the part 2 units for me can tend to sometimes be a little bit more of a letdown than part 1. I think honestly, historically, I personally have never found the part 2 units to be ostensibly OP. Or ostensibly, not OP, they've been OP, but like I've never found them to be super duper hyped to me. A lot of people are predicting that there will be a Kefla. I don't think this will happen anymore because we have the Kale and Caulifla as a sparking. Look, there is a possibility for a Kefla. I think Kefla is enough to be hype enough. Whether she is absolutely hype enough, I don't know. But I think she can carry enough hype for part 2 depending on how they design her and everything. But obviously other units that maybe link, we're looking at possibly Topo. Both units benefit from God Key, and one thing I will say is that there is at least some synergy with Z boosts. So I do think that there is space for the I do think there is space for a Topo to appear, but again, very debatable, very mixed bag, very could be, could not be. I think Jiren is out of the equation. Usually the free-to-play unit kind of excludes that unit. We could obviously get a full power Jiren or something, but you tend to find if we got a free-to-play Frieza, we don't tend to get a summonable Frieza unless it's like a vastly distinctly different form or something. I think we just don't generally get it. It's just not something that we generally tend to get a lot of. So for me, really, Topo maybe is currently the one that I'm kind of favoring as one of them. And then I do think we'll get a future unit. Very rarely do we go through a big celebration without some kind of future unit. It's just a tag they really like buffing. And we did get a buff relatively recently, but I wouldn't say we got a buff super recently. Goku Black from Legends Fest, pretty good buff, but not enough on his own. Shenron could also be one. We could also be returning back to the Namek Saga. The thing is villains, I will admit, are not super popular for the big celebrations. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Look, overall, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know, and bye.